Welcome to day 35 of our 40 days of Strangers on the Way. Today, I'm excited to introduce you to Ken, Cookies for a Neighbor. Dessert on a Thursday. All of us at some time or another need help. Whether we're giving or receiving help, each one of us has something valuable to bring to the world. That's one of the things that connects us as neighbors. In our own way, each one of us is a giver and a receiver. A quote by Mr. Rogers. One day I decided to bake cookies for my next door neighbors. This is a rare occasion for me. I may be known for setting off the smoke alarm while cooking, but I was inspired by Jesus' invitation to love our neighbors. The truth is, after 2 years living in my apartment complex, I didn't even know my neighbors' names. It's kind of difficult to love someone you don't even know, so I decided to intentionally make an effort. I put the cookie dough in the oven and actually stayed in the kitchen instead of walking into another room while I was cooking, hence the smoke alarm issue. A few minutes later, I pulled the fresh baked chocolate chip cookies from the oven and set them down to cool. I scribbled a little note. Hey neighbors, sorry I don't even know your names, but I baked you cookies. I'm here if you ever need anything. And I placed it in an envelope. A few minutes later, I stealthily tiptoed over to their apartment and dropped off the goods at their door. So this is kind of a crazy part. That same night, I read a chapter of a book that my small group was reading. It's called Flesh by Hugh Halter, and it's awesome. I almost dropped the book when I read this line. There are times to make a plate of cookies to take to a neighbor, and there are other times to make a scene. This caught my attention because of the cookie reference. What are the odds? But also because there was a deeper reason I decided to reach out to my neighbors at this specific time. A month earlier, a friend of my mom and brother took his life. He was really young and it just wrecked me. Our family had experienced losing loved ones in this way, and I knew how deep the grief was for the family and friends left behind. I came to learn that when people isolate, depression can take root and bring a person into deep despair. The walls of my apartment complex were pretty thin, so I heard my neighbors often. For months and months, I heard my neighbor play video games. This is okay, of course, but he played them a lot, for long periods of time and a lot of the time. I know they can be addicting, but I finally thought, well, what if he's lonely? What if he's isolating? That's the real reason I wanted to meet him, just so he would know he has someone next door who's there and cares. Several nights later, there was a knock on my door. It was my next door neighbor. His name is Ken, and in his hands were a tray of confetti cupcakes. I wanted to thank you for your generosity, he said, smiling. My roommate and I don't bake, so we got you some store-bought cupcakes to show our thanks. We chatted for a couple minutes, and then I shut the door. I placed the cupcakes on my counter and smiled. My heart was so filled. This week, there may be an invitation for you to bake cookies for someone, or give someone a roll of toilet paper, or calm someone's fears. Or there may be an invitation for you to make a scene and shout against the injustice you see in the world. Whatever it may be, keep your eyes open because God will specifically place certain people in your path. And maybe your kindness will cause them to be kind to someone else, or maybe that kindness will come back to you, and maybe you will gain a new friend. Let's wonder. Is there anyone in your life who seems a bit lonely this season? Ask God to bring someone to your mind. Ask God for a picture or a word of encouragement for the person. And then consider sharing it with them. Is there anyone in your life who seems to be a bit lonely this season? Ask God to bring someone to your mind. And then let's activate. Write an encouraging letter to the person that came to your mind. Or if no one did, consider writing to an elderly person or a person in prison today. Who will you write to today? And then let's yield. What can you do for a few people this week to show them that you see them and that you care? What can you do for a few people this week to show them that you see them and that you care? It's going to be a great week.